What's up everyone, Wolfman here, back at it again with another LEGO Star Wars review. And today I am doing the final review on my Starship fleets. And this one is the most special and anticipated set that has been around for quite some time. As what the title of this video would say, it is indeed on the Tantive IV. Now which version you might be asking, because they've done 3 different versions. One being, I think from the early 2000s or whatever, or somewhere around that era. The second one was being from 2009, but I'm doing the more recent one from, I think, 2019, so 10 years after the other one. But this one, my personal opinion, I'm pretty sure to a lot of people, is by far the better one. And before I get into the review itself, just the final reminder of the upcoming review of my Grand Fleet, which is going to be the video after this review. So if anyone who's come across this channel, definitely tune into that, because all the other ships I've done reviews on, including starfighters, will be all leading up to this review. And I'm also be doing or throwing in other ships I had not done reviews on. One being the Kessel Run Falcon, which I have changed the design on and renamed the Raven's Halo, and even some other bounty hunter starships from the Clone Wars era. So there's a lot of ships I'll be doing in that grand review, so that's going to be the next one after this review, so definitely tune into that. So with that out of the way, and without any further ado, on to the review. And here she is, set number 75244, the Tantive IV. This set was released back in 2019, has 1,768 pieces, comes with 6 minifigures, 2 of which are unique to this set, and one of them is the first ever version of this specific character. Now before I get into the review itself, this ship was basically I would consider the flagship that basically introduced us into the Star Wars universe, as being the very first ship that we see at the start of A New Hope. But there's quite a lot more history behind this specific set itself, and this is basically the 3rd version of the set that's ever been released. And quite frankly, this one is, to me, by far the best version that they have actually done. I'm going to go ahead and jump into the minifigures themselves. This set comes with R2-D2, C-3PO, a Rebel Trooper, Leia Organa, Captain Antilles, and for the very first time ever, Bail Organa. And he and at the time, both him and Leia at this set's release were the 2 unique figures, but you can actually get Leia in the much more recent X-Wing Starfighter, which I actually done a review on before. If you haven't seen that review, feel free to go check out that one after this review. But at the time, this was the only set you can get both these figures. But now that I think about it, I could be wrong. I think the other figure that may be unique to the set could be Captain Antilles, who's right here in between Leia and Bail. Now, as you can see in this photo here, the detailing of these guys is actually quite spot on, especially with 3PO as well. And the 4 main minifigures, minus the droids, they do come with double face, as you can see in this photo here as well. And the detailing is quite spot on. I'm actually liking 3PO's design, especially in the back, as you can see in this photo here, along with Bail Organa without his cape on. And just well-rounded designs on all these guys actually, but minus R2, because you can actually get that guy in this version of him in so many different sets. I think they've kept carrying on with that design, any kind of set that features the droid as well. So, and I also do believe that Leia actually comes with another option of being in her senatorial robe, I believe I would basically call it. You can actually change her to actual legs, I do believe. Yeah, you actually can, so that's actually a neat feature, but I'm lazy. I'm not really going to bother with trying to fuss around with that. So I'm basically done with that. I'll move these guys out of the way and onto the set itself. Now I'm going to go ahead and start off with some of the biggest lores behind this ship. This ship was quite well known for being Leia Organa's ship that she was using when she had the Death Star plans. So she was being pursued by Darth Vader's Star Destroyer, the Devastator, and the ship actually ended up being captured, unfortunately. And it was, and from what I could remember at the time, before, or I believe this was Legends material, this ship was actually destroyed after it was taken, but it was actually later brought back in The Rise of Skywalker, where at the Battle of Exegol, this ship sadly met its end. However, as far as the timeline, the very first time this ship was actually seen was actually during the Clone Wars. If anyone who has seen the series, the episode, I believe, I can't remember which season it was, but I think the episode was titled Supply Lines. Bail Organa journeyed to Toydaria to meet up with the supposed ultra secret Sith Lord Darth Jar Jar Binks. I would actually sincerely believe that buffoon, that great big buffoon, actually might have been a Sith Lord, but that's for another time. But Bail Organa actually went to Toydaria in this ship, and he actually, excuse me for the phasing in and out, I don't know what's going on, but he actually took this ship to Toydaria and actually made its big appearance at that time. Now you would think you'd seen this ship in episode 3, when Bail Organa went to rescue Obi-Wan and Yoda. That was not the Tantive IV. In fact, that was a much more shorter, smaller version of the specific ship, so it definitely wasn't that. So, timeline-wise, it did have an appearance in the Clone Wars. Then again in episode 4, and then finally at the end, in episode 9, where it was sadly destroyed. So that's basically the lore behind it. One other bit of information is the type of ship that this ship was designed after. This is a CR-90 Corvette. I'm trying to remember what certain classifications or what classified it as a Corvette, but I think when they use the term Corvette, it's a fast and nimble and agile ship that can basically run blockades or whatever. But that's what this basically was. I think it went through another name called a Rebel Blockade Runner. And one of the biggest features that this ship has, other than the design on the bridge, I'm going to start showing off some of those features. This is what the bridge basically looks like. And that's one of the biggest prominent features on this ship. But the biggest one, and I mean the biggest feature, are its 11 thrusters. This thing basically makes it stick out like a sore thumb. And it actually gives it all the speed that it needs to basically run any kind of blockade. So it's actually quite a neat design. And at first I wasn't a big fan of it, but this ship actually has grown on to me. And it's actually one of my favorite ships within the original trilogy. So I actually do like this particular set. Now this sucker actually does have quite a lot of playable features. One being, this sucker actually has a handle, which you can use to fly this sucker around. And man, this set is actually rather big, so bear with me as I change some of the angles to show some of the features. And this actually does have another playable feature. This sucker actually has the spring-loaded missiles right underneath the bridge, and there's actually mechanism that actually launches them. I think it's these guys right under here is what launches the spring-loaded missiles. And of course, this thing has quite the number of armaments. It's got 2 turrets, one at the bottom here and one at the top here, which actually has the stud shooters as well, which is a neat feature. And of course, it's got these smaller guns on the tops on either sides here, which is another neat feature. So this thing is basically armed to the teeth, basically. Unfortunately, there aren't any other armaments hidden towards the rear, so I think this ship can easily be outflanked. And of course, there are some stuff on the inside as well. You can actually take apart the cockpit here, and there's actually room for a couple of minifigures to see right there. And they do have control consoles. I'm not going to try to bother showing them or even stick the minifigs in, but just take me at my word, this sucker does have displays for the bridges, or for the cockpit themselves. Of course, the last version of the Tantive IV, my biggest complaint on that set, other than being shorter and a bit more wider and stockier and not that nimble of a design like this, the cockpit, the front bridge design, the pieces that they used at the front weren't, I hate to be harsh, it really wasn't up to par by my high standards, so I don't regret not getting that set. So there's that. One other thing that this sucker does have is you can actually gain access to the inside. Now, unfortunately, I had kind of gutted the inside of it a little. There would normally be a table here, like a little meeting, like this would be a meeting room, and you would have a table here, a conference table, and have chairs on either sides. But I just didn't care that much, so I purposely took them out and left them out. Of course, one other big thing this sucker has is a storage bay for the spring-loaded missiles. You can take this midsection off, and you can actually slide in a piece that handles the two spring-loaded missiles right into that slot there. So neat. So quite the use on storage capacity, and the sucker comes with two escape pods, one on either side here just below the radar dish. Got this fun sucker, one on both sides. Remove the top, you can actually fit a couple of minifigures in there. So, as far as playability, that's roughly it. But as far as designs, it's rather pleasing to look at, especially with some of the mixed in color schemes as well, with the maroon to show its diplomatic immunity. Of course, that never saw the Empire when they apprehended this ship. But even the designs in the engine thrusters, which I actually like. I mean, whoever designed this, they actually put in detailings in between the thrusters here. I don't know if you can see that, but the detailing in there is quite spot on. So I actually like. So that's actually a neat feature. And of course, I believe they did the same thing on the underside, but actually, now that I look at it, they really didn't. But who cares enough to look at the bottom anyways? But I guess, speaking of which, maybe I'll show you the bottoms and some of the other rest of the ship. One feature that they have in are these plugins here, which is supposed to represent the escape pods, because if anyone who has seen A New Hope, that's where R2-D2 and 3PO escaped the Tantive IV was in the escape pods, and they launched from the under hull of this section of the ship. Just to go in a little bit more of Star Wars lore. But overall, this was definitely well worth the purchase. In fact, I'm glad I did, because after I purchased it, I think maybe a couple of years, I think 2 years ago, I think. Yeah, this sucker was only available for over a year. But I'll admit, I might be a little selfish, so I actually ordered 2 of these guys. So I actually do have another one of these guys, but I modified it a little bit, and you'll see. And if anyone who would be curious to see what that sucker looks like, it'll be in the Grand Fleet review, which will be the next upload after this. So I actually liked this ship a lot. It was well worth the purchase, well worth the wait, and it's definitely something it actually is something that I would recommend to anyone who would come across this set. Granted, it's more expensive now since it has retired, but overall it was definitely a worthwhile purchase and a well put together ship, and I'm well pleased at how the designers just went all out on this design. So definitely a set worth getting. So that was my review on the Tantive IV, and if you liked that video and if you made it to the end of this video, please feel free to leave a like down below and leave a comment. I'd like to know anyone who is a fan, who isn't a fan. What are your complaints? What pros you got on this particular set? And if you got any of the two other variants of this particular set, especially the one from 2009, if you have that, well, more power to you. But I never wanted to acquire that set, so No real complaints there, but yeah, if you like the video, feel free to leave a like, leave a comment. If you want to see more reviews are going to be coming up in the next, probably well into the next year, including the upcoming Grand Fleet review, which is the next video after this. Then come join the Wolfpack by hitting the red subscribe button down below for more content, and I will eventually be doing reviews on at least 3 more armies: my First Order army, Mandalorian army, and my Republic clone army. Eventually, those ones will be coming, so definitely tune into those. And I think that may be it for this video, so all that's left for me to remind you that Jesus loves you more than Elmo and Barney, and I'll see you guys next time.